Hello, and welcome back to Inquisitor Martyr. Last time we continued on with the Lacon Majoris invasion, and we're just gonna jump back into that.
The web of heresy and corruption is spun by powerful beings and perverted minds. Hunt their leaders, and this construct of evil will come crashing down.
I slay in thy name.
So it looks like this week... clear my throat a little bit. This week we're going to end up finishing this segment and go to Chapter 5 of this, I guess? Kinda surprised it's... Don't know why I thought that would work. Kinda surprised it's still going. I don't know if it's gonna keep going after this. I feel like this is the end, but they very well could eke out another chapter of like, oh, now we fully fight back. But that's... I said it before, trying to guess the length of this, and I was kind of wrong, so who knows. I gotta say, it's been pretty quiet in terms of like 40K news. Nothing really major's come out. Just the announcements from stuff I've mentioned before, the codices and models and stuff, nothing major. I will say I have to make a correction there regarding me talking about not seeing any Tzeentch footage for Total War Warhammer 3. There actually is Tzeentch footage. Actually, there's footage for like every faction, I think. There's probably footage for Slaanesh, I just haven't seen it yet. It'd be kind of weird if they kept Slaanesh of all Chaos Gods really hush-hush. But the Tzeentch stuff looks pretty cool. They get a regenerating shield, which, I mean, that gives you so much opportunity in terms of just your sustainability. Because if you're good at cycle charging, you could, in theory, sit down and go, okay, I'm gonna charge my Chaos Knights. Just trying to think of something. Chaos Knights into an enemy. Hit them, pull back, cycle out for a second, get the shield regenning, and then charge back in. The big thing from what I can tell is they're kind of flimsy. It also looks like some of their knights are on, I think it's a silver disc, is what they're called. But it's really cool. The second I saw that, I was like, oh, that's so cool. It's actually cavalry I might use. Because I typically hate cavalry, because I don't really pay attention all too much. I'm too busy casting. But that was some interesting little tidbit there. Saw stuff about how they're implementing like cataclysm magic, which is gonna be insane, because when you're in the realm of chaos, how magic works is it'll shift, and it'll be like, oh, well, this turn, or for the next couple turns, we're gonna have a magic kind of storm of sorts, and the dominant magic is gonna be fire magic, which I think is Azir, A-Z-Y-R, for that window magic. But you get, I think, bonus weapon damage for your entire army as a buff, and then you get it's like I think a molten magma storm you can call in as a spell.
Imperial Commando located. Current order. Find and destroy enemy relay station.
Oh, this is the first time I've actually seen one of these with a actual objective tied to it. Yeah, so they introduced these cool magic spells and all this that can really change how a faction plays or how an invasion might go. One of them worth noting... there's so many worth noting, honestly, all of them. But some of them give, like, perfect vigor, which is super good. Some give different damage bonuses. I think it's Heaven Magic gives bonus range damage. And I think it gives like armor piercing. I was like, that's really cool. And because I think Khorne, they're going to have a lot of heavy armor guys, that might be a way to kind of get around that and just punch through them. But I'm excited. I think it's going to be good. The siege battles look a lot better than they have been. The one thing I wish they would change, but it wouldn't happen because it's third game and it'd be far too late to do it, is to redo the economy. Because as it stands, I get the idea of, oh, you just, plunk down a gemstone mine and you get undisclosed number of... Actually, you do get a disclosed number of gemstones. But it doesn't really matter. But the thing I was thinking is, make it like Total War Troy, where, you have wheat, bronze, wood, and gold resources that you have to manage, and you might have to trade with someone to get certain resources, or cut deals where for the next 10 turns you get X amount per turn. Because then you can sit there and say, hey, crafting this item using, gold or idols or gemstones requires 200 gemstones. Okay, maybe you make 50 a turn. Do you wait 4 turns? Or do you trade? And at least for like co-op and stuff, I think that'd be a good idea. It does kind of screw with having the trade agreements, but I'm sure you can make something. Let's be real. There's always something you can do that could be more oriented towards gold. You could have trade agreements that vary. You give me X for Y, and we'll just keep this going indefinitely. Or you make it for an X number of turns. I don't really care. I just really want an improved diplomacy and resource system. Or I will be happy to meet Creative Assembly halfway, keep the system as it is for Warhammer, but then make a Lord of the Rings game and improve and use those systems. We've already seen the can't remember the name of the Lord of the Rings one, but we've seen that mod is very popular. So it's like, why not just make it? Granted, I don't know who owns the rights to Lord of the Rings anymore. Since Christopher Tolkien passed on, I don't know if his family still retains it or whoever has it. I just know Amazon's working on something and I'm not looking forward to that. That's because I'm a absolute nerd and want my fantasy stories to remain the way they were. You know what, screw it, I'm going into it because it frustrates me. So they're like, oh, we're gonna have all these different, we're gonna have black characters like hobbits and elves and all this, we're gonna have Asian ones, and I'm like, cool. Why don't you introduce them organically? To the east of, I think it's the Iron Hills. The map was never expanded. Introduce Asian people or characters from there. You can introduce a whole new continent, you can introduce new countries, cities. It's open. Or same with South, with the Haradrim, I think it's the Haradrim. But just South. Past, Umbar, there really isn't anything. But the way I've heard things being described, it sounds like they're just gonna plop them in and be like, oh yeah, they've always been here. And I'm like, it doesn't really work. Because then, where were all these people during The Hobbit, during, Fellowship of the Ring? You're telling me for a good, what would you say, 100 years or so, rough equivalent? Just everyone who wasn't white just disappeared? Did Sauron also have a Thanos snap that targeted non-white people? Because that's kind of weird. And very specific. And my whole thing is never, oh, I don't like it because they're different. It's, they can be implemented very well. Just take 5 minutes and you can do it. But it feels like all this stuff's like, no, we can't take effort, we can't expand the world. Only nerds care about world expansion. We need to just take what's already existing and warp it to what we need. It's like, no. I would genuinely be interested in seeing what's east of the Iron Hills. You could do a whole series just on that. Is that everything? Yes. I don't know why I looked at that and thought, oh, I wonder what this has. I have to look everything. I mean, I can do all that realistically. We'll quick check that also, because I got this. Okay, HP regen increased by % of missing HP. That's not bad. Damage resistance, movement speed and surrounded, kind of a waste. Supreme crit chance and crit strength against slowed, shocked, and stunned enemies. Not bad. Yeah, we'll take it, why not? And then you. I mean, what the hell, we'll just equip it and see what we get for traits. If they're trash, they're trash.
Thousand worlds, 100,000 wars. There is no respite. There is nowhere to hide. Across the galaxy, there is only war.
But jumping back to like the Lord of the Rings stuff, I'm not wrong, am I? Like, I just want continuity and things to be done well. It's like, I'm a big Star Wars fan. I wasn't a fan of the sequel trilogy, not because, you know, all Rey's are female and I don't like that. No, I didn't care. I cared her powers were inconsistent, the First Order was goofy as can be. For a bunch of people who really liked the Empire, they really didn't learn that, hey, maybe making a giant super weapon isn't your best option. You know, little things like that where the continuity kind of goes wonky, or how they wrote Luke. How they wrote Han, I didn't really care. Mostly because even though I really like Han Solo, Harrison Ford just doesn't care. He really doesn't. That guy, I feel like he hated being Han in the beginning and just kind of rolled with it because it was a paycheck. And at a certain point he was just like, I'm really sick of this. Which is fine, he's pretty old. But it's like, just continuity. Nice hole. But continuity, remaining faithful to source material, I feel like that unto itself is such a challenge these days. And it's such a weird thing, because, you know, people deride, like, people who are big fans, like, oh, a bunch of crybaby nerds in their mom's basement. It's like, dude, these people are effectively a font of information. Use that. Who's going to know material better? A guy who just got hired on to do a movie or a show? Or the guy who's a super fan? The people with the near, like, lexicon level knowledge base of stuff, they're really good. Yeah, some of them might be a little difficult to deal with. You know, that's people. You know, get a couple, grab them and be like, hey, how's this? Does this fit? If a couple of them disagree, let them fight it out. But in general, you can just ask them, or in the case of before the passing of Christopher Tolkien, they could have just asked him, but I think they kind of waited for his death intentionally. As terrible as that may be, these days I'm not surprised by anything. I do wonder if we're going to get any new Lord of the Rings games. I thought about doing a playthrough of Shadow of War, because I have that, but I don't know if people are interested. It was either that or it's going to do episodes essentially creating a fight club and having random orcs and orogs and all that fight it out and see who's the strongest. But I'd like to see another game like that, or at least for Warner Brothers to utilize the Nemesis system in other games. It's such a good system. One, I think copywriting it, while I understand, is also kind of a dick move because it's so brilliant. And they're literally doing nothing with it as of this moment. And it's like, hey, use this. I mean, other people kind of get away with versions of it. XCOM, Warframe, they just have to kind of finagle it a little bit, but I think it's a great system that pretty much any game can utilize. Can you imagine a Souls game with that? Oh, you died to some piddly little zombie guy, now he's stronger. He's now named. Given time, he can become stronger. Hell, he could even... You can even have it where kind of a database is kept, and they'll plunk those characters into other players' worlds occasionally, and if they get a kill, they'll power up. You could do a lot. Same could be done in Destiny. If Anthem hadn't flopped, they could have gone in there. Outriders. It can go almost anywhere. Borderlands. I'd love to see it in Borderlands. I think it could go... I keep saying it could go anywhere. Short of like Madden. Because I don't know how you do it with a football game. But in general, it works quite well. And it gives players and makes players feel like they're in a more dynamic world. Oh, I also saw a little thing about the Grey Knights XCOM-ish game coming out. What's interesting is there's a bunch of systems you travel to, and depending on your upgrades, time elapses and all that, and different locations get affected by Nurgle differently. Like, one might have some weird strain or affliction that makes all Nurgle units tougher, or it makes your guys weaker, or just little things like that. And I thought that was a pretty neat idea. I feel like it's not squandered, it's just not fully realized by only being like, ah, yes, Nurgle. Because you could have that with every Chaos God, having their own tweaks and effects. you could do a lot. Especially because then you could introduce stuff like, honestly, just Chaos Cultists. Oh, this world is under, Coronate influence, and you have to deal with a bunch of, raggedy guardsmen who rebel. Well, there's some weird Bloodstorm-looking thing happening, and as a result, the normally garbage guardsmen are far more dangerous in melee, and they're more prone to charge you and go into melee. Suddenly your Grey Knights might get bogged down by a bunch of trash. That's a complete change to how they would normally play. And I think that would be interesting. But I guess using Nurgle as kind of a starting point isn't bad either, because then they could always expand and also just make expansion packs using the other Chaos Gods. And hopefully that would mean that each Chaos God gets their due amount of attention. Because otherwise, trying to do them all at once might kind of split the focus and make them kind of meh.
Swinging our way. One last push and the victory is ours.
So I guess I understand their current method. There's a method to the madness. Plague Bears, leave me alone. Actually, what am I doing? Keep forgetting I have this thing.
Death generously. My compliments.
Aw, no chest in the back? Wait. Huh? You see that right on the map? How do we have that side room? There's no hidden teleporters. I think we had a glitch tile. Huh. Never experienced that before. I don't expect the rewards to be good for this one. The last one already had a pretty good one. Okay, they're decent. See, that power sword's cool, and I like the random vulnerability, but warp vulnerability would be an absolute waste. Granted, that synergy with plus 25% effectiveness to vulnerability debuffs is pretty cool. Like, that is actually incredibly good. But that is all for now. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to hit the like button. It helps out the channel a lot. If you haven't already, make sure to hit the subscribe button. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.